Hello, and welcome to the fourth video in my mini-series on e-commerce replatforming and discovery. The first video talked about what discovery is and why it's important. The second one looked at how you plan for your discovery phase. The third workshop was discussing how you run effective workshops. We're now going to look at the really important part, which is how do you then prioritise all of the requirements that are captured during the workshops. The reality during the discovery phase is you'll capture hundreds and hundreds, in some projects it's thousands, of functional requirements, both technical and business. You'll capture loads of business processes, underline it as well. You have to be pragmatic now about which of those become critical delivery paths for your phase one launch, your MVP launch. You will have a agreed project scope and set of deliverables based on what you've signed off with the vendor and the SI partner. So you have to be sensible about what can be feasibly delivered based on what's in scope and the timeline within which you're going to be delivering it. So you have to apply a set of prioritization criteria. A lot of people use Moscow, which is the must have, should have, could have, and would have. Starting from, must will be things like compliance requirements. We've got to be GDPR compliant, otherwise we could get fined. Down to would have, which might be a distant roadmap capability that you think might be nice, but actually there's no business case for, no one else in the competitor set's doing, and no customers ever asked for. So it's partly vanity, but also partly it's a play to see whether that could have any benefit on the website. Now Moscow is fine if you're very stringent in how you apply it. The danger with the Moscow is it becomes very subjective. Most business stakeholders will say that every single one of the requirements that they have defined is a must-have. They can't work without it. Then you have to go through the laborious process of unpicking that and ask them, okay, do you currently have it? Yes, no. Does it currently work? Does it currently contribute anything to the business? Is there a business case for using it? Good example is things like third-party tools. We say, well, we must have this third-party tool, and it's not being used for 6 months. Now, that's not a must. If it's not being used for 6 months, it's clearly not a must. Then it can get deprioritized. So you have to be very, very clear in defining what those criteria are and how you assess a requirement against them consistently, so that you're able to unpick what is essential for delivering up front versus what can come later, or what actually you descope and say, no, that's not what the e-commerce project is going to deliver. If somebody wants that put in, they have to come back with a business case for it. It might sound a bit harsh, but having that level of discipline will really, really protect you against budget and scope creep. The last thing that a project manager wants is an endlessly creeping scope, because that becomes much harder then to tie down what the first delivery is, what the first phase is, how they cut up the sprints if each one of the capabilities that you thought was going to be delivered in a sprint keeps extending. It's much better to have a very carefully defined set of requirements that you can then add to the roadmap, which you then have a process for reviewing and prioritising, and then discussing with your implementation partner about when you bring those into the project and how and what the additional cost is. One of the best ways of thinking about prioritisation is simply, can you sell online without it? That should be your critical requirement path. So we come back to the compliance thing. Things like GDPR, basic level accessibility, level A compliance. Those things are essential. Anything where there is a law, so e-privacy directives, etc. Things that you must adhere to, otherwise you could end up getting negative PR, getting fined, even worse, directors getting taken to court. That has to be a number one deliverable. Then it's anything that the customer or the business is dependent upon in order to enable a transaction. So anything to do with payment gateways, anything to do with baskets, checkouts, ability to add a product to basket. If you're stringent in your prioritization, it makes it a lot easier for the PM on your side and the PM on the implementation side to define what goes into the sprints, what's prioritized for development, and then everything else can come in future sprints or future phases. Hopefully that has clarified A, the importance of prioritisation, and B, some of the techniques you can use to do that. If you have any more questions, as always, please email me, james@digitaljuggler.com, or get in touch via LinkedIn and Twitter, and my contact details are on the website. Thank you.